How you guys doing today? I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lines TV, and welcome to another news daily video. I'm going to be talking about 4 stories for today. Of course, I need to talk about HudsonOdoi and his surgery. I'm going to be talking about news surrounding Lorenzo Insigne in regards to potential move this summer. I'm going to be talking about Reece James and Man United links, and to end things, I'm going to be talking about Tomori. But before I get into anything, today's video was brought to you by the One Football app. You guys, in the link in the description below is the only way to download the app if you want to help me out, because each download does get tracked by One Football. The One Football app gets even better. Now you're able to watch La Liga games for the price of $2.99. It gets better, it gets better. If you guys want it, it's in the link in the description below. But starting with the first story for today, that's in regards to Callum HudsonOdoi and his injury update. Now here's the clip that Callum released on social media.
Hi guys, thank you for all the messages and support you've been sending me. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm doing better and I'm feeling better, so thank you very much. And just road to recovery now. Thank you.
It's great to know that his surgery has been successful. Hopefully he does come back even fitter and stronger, and he does make a very fast recovery as well. Can't lie, it's still depressing to think that we're not going to see him play any more games this season. We've waited for so long to see this guy play first team. The minute he does, the curse, and honestly it does feel like a curse at this point, because whenever we see any youth player starting to get more game time and start to develop his potential, an injury comes from nowhere. It's frustrating, but reports have come out today in regards to Chelsea offering HudsonOdoi a new contract, with HudsonOdoi turning down the deal, stating that he's in no rush to agree to any terms right now. Now, I can imagine that a lot of people aren't going to be happy that HudsonOdoi hasn't committed his future right now. The guy's been playing first team football. What more does he want? But think of it this way, and for me personally, it makes a lot of sense. If HudsonOdoi commits now, he loses all his leverage. And it's been this leverage which his camp has built over the past year, which has really forced HudsonOdoi in the club spotlight. And this is one of the major reasons as to why there's a big emphasis and push from the club for the start of Callum HudsonOdoi. Let's be hypothetical for a second. Imagine Callum does agree to a new deal, but Hazard gets sold, and we then use the money to sign 2 replacements for Eden Hazard. Now, if you're HudsonOdoi, you might be thinking, kind of messed up here a bit now. I was thinking that I'd be seen as the successor to Hazard, but it looks like I'm in the same situation as I was in the first season. Now, that's obviously going to be something that HudsonOdoi doesn't want happening. However, if he keeps the club on their toes by not agreeing to a new contract like he's doing right now, it might make the club really re-strategize in regards to replacements for Eden Hazard. Because ideally you're thinking with HudsonOdoi, he'd be the player that takes over from Hazard and grows down the left hand side. Callum is playing it smart. Doesn't make any sense to agree to any new deal without knowing what the future is going to hold for Eden Hazard and the future after Eden Hazard as well. Still though, with HudsonOdoi's current injury, could his camp potentially lose some leverage of themselves? Potentially. If you're the club, you might be thinking, well, before we give in to any of your demands and let Callum HudsonOdoi replace Eden Hazard, we don't know yet if the player is going to be back to the same form that he was before his injury. And we've seen this club have a really cautious approach to players that have sustained long-term injuries. The club may feel that it's a bit of a risk really giving into these big demands without having any guarantees from the player. These are all hypotheticals, you guys, but in the comment section below, give me your thoughts and opinions. Do you think that HudsonOdoi should be the player to replace Eden Hazard? Or do you feel like it's time for us to look for a big name player to replace Eden Hazard? Now moving on to the big story for today. That's in regards to Lorenzo Insigne and all the reports coming out from Italy. Now Corriere dello Sport have been the publication to really push this story a lot. Today's story from them is that Insigne and Napoli's relationship has broken down, and that's because Insigne doesn't like how the fans have turned on him, and the fans really vented their frustrations at the player in that loss against Arsenal. After that game, Insigne has been on the bench. However, there is some context as to why the Napoli fans are so annoyed with the player. Now, around the start of this month, Corriere dello Sport did release an interview with Insigne, and it was a very controversial interview. In it, Insigne did state that if an unrefusable offer came in for Insigne, he would leave. Now for me, I personally get it. I'm saying this every single time. Insigne's in his prime age right now. He's realised, you know what? I'm not going to have a long career for too much longer. I want some trophies in my cabinet. So far with Napoli, it's been an amazing ride, but we aren't any closer to winning anything. Napoli is my boyhood club, but if a big offer did come in for me, I think I need to go. Now, getting back to the story, and they're stating that Paris Saint-Germain, Liverpool, us, and potentially Bayern Munich are all interested in Insigne. There's even rumours coming out that Napoli and Inter might entertain a swap deal involving Icardi and Insigne. And if there's anything to take from these reports, it's the fact that lots of big clubs are really interested in the player. But reports are stating that Insigne would prefer to sign for us because he would love to work under Sarri again. And Insigne personally feels like Sarri's been the major reason as to why Insigne's fulfilled his potential. Now, before Sarri came, fans were quite frustrated with Insigne beforehand, so he does have history with the Napoli fans, but he was always seen as a player with immense potential, but not really fulfilling it. Sarri came, and as I'm always saying, when you use players in the right system, with the right teammates around them, you can really elevate their game and get the best out of what they do. And that's one thing that Insigne showed. Is it any surprise that Insigne's recorded the highest goals in a season being managed under Sarri? That was 20 goals. And that's pretty similar to what Eden Hazard's doing this season. Now, what's even more interesting about this story is that they're reporting that Napoli have a valuation of about 70 million euros for Insigne, which in today's market is pretty reasonable. Now, giving some of my thoughts and opinions, of course, I did release a 7 replacements for Eden Hazard video. It was a big video. If you guys want to watch that, it is going to be in a card above. I do talk about Insigne in that video, but I've been saying this time and time again. There's only 2 players that could really, realistically do what Hazard does. I'm not saying to the best levels of what Hazard produces, but they can do a similar stylistic role. And they are Coutinho and Insigne. For me, it would make a ton of sense if we did go in for Insigne. I mean, he understands the system already, meaning that you don't have to waste time waiting for the player to become accustomed to Sarri's demands. Of course, with Insigne as well, the confidence of working under the manager, playing in his best position and his best role as well. He would fit the profile of player needed in the Sarri system. You know, ideally the guy on the left-hand side needs to have the capabilities of a goal-scoring winger and a playmaker as well. And this is a role that Insigne could 1000% strive in. Signing Insigne does send a statement to the rest of the competition in the league because it lets them know that we're serious about challenging. We still have big aspirations, and this could be the big money move that gives confidence to all the stakeholders and the fans as well. But, and this is a massive but, what would this mean for HudsonOdoi? Ideally, if Hazard goes, you want to see HudsonOdoi prospering in his best position, and that is the left-hand side. Now, this season he's shown that, of course, he's a great player. He can play down the right-hand side, but if you want him to play at his 10 out of 10, 100% best, you have to use this guy down the left-hand side. And if you sign Insigne, you're only forcing HudsonOdoi to become a backup to the player until he potentially left. And if HudsonOdoi sees that a big name is going to replace Hazard, and it means that he's not going to play down the left-hand side, would he consider staying with the club, knowing that Bayern Munich would come in for him in a heartbeat and sign him up? As I mentioned in the previous story for today's video, you guys in the comment section below, let me know, would you prefer to see Hazard being replaced by HudsonOdoi, or do you feel as if we need to sign a big name replacement to replace Eden Hazard? Now, the third story is pretty weird, but reports are that Man United are interested in the services of Reece James. Now, this story has been reported by The Independent, and they're stating that Man United are optimistic about the possibility of signing Reece James, and that's because Reece James' younger sister, Lauren James, plays for Man United's women's team. She's one of the biggest talents in women's football right now, and they're hoping that the added bonus of being closer to a family member could be what persuades Reece James to sign for Man United. Now, it's obvious that Man United do need a capable right back. I mean, Valencia's not the same player anymore. Ashley Young has really struggled this season. And with Dalot, of course, there's some question marks in regards to the quality of the player. It's quite interesting though that United are considering using Lauren James in a way to try and persuade Reece James to sign for them. That could be quite interesting. I mean, Lauren James is doing big things right now, and they do have a very strong relationship. But in my opinion, for me, if Reece James hypothetically, let's not forget hypothetically, did go to Man United, it would be down to game time. Now, from everything I've been hearing, and from what reports are stating, and it is true, the club are seeing Reece James as a replacement for Zappacosta, so he can be the new backup to Aspie for next season. We know that Reece James has been phenomenal for Wigan this year. Aspie's on the decline, in my personal opinion. He's not as good, and he has struggled a lot more playing this style of football. And when you compare him to Reece James, the attributes that Reece James possesses is much more complementary for this system compared to Aspie. Now, if you want to hear more of my thoughts and details in regards to Reece James, in a card above is going to be a link to a reaction video I did do on the player. But keeping things hypothetical still, if you're Man United and you promise this guy a first team role in the team for next season, any player Reece James' age is going to really strongly consider what to do. If you're thinking that you're not going to get as much game time if you're going to be the backup to Aspie for next season, Reece might feel like he could profit from secure game time hypothetically offered by Man United. Still though, one advantage we have is that the guys that have come through the academy have a strong love for the club. They want to play for us, they envision staying here, they want to be big players for us to become part of our history. All it comes down to is standing by these young players. And ending things with a final story, that's in regards to an unspoken member of the Lone Army. His name is Tomori. He has won the Player of the Year award at Derby, and it just sums up how much of a fantastic year it's been for everyone in the Lone Army. So many players have had fantastic seasons for their loan clubs, and even though Mason Mount does receive a lot of plaudits playing for Derby, Tomori has been a massive bonus for the team. He really helps them play out from the back and start moves as well. Now, of course, for me personally, I think that Tomori now needs a loan move in the Premier League, or ideally the Bundesliga in my opinion, because he needs to now play against top quality opposition week in, week out. One great thing about the player is whatever challenge has been thrown his way, he's stood up, he's fought, and he's eventually won favour of the manager. I do think that the Bundesliga would be a better career choice if offers did come, of course, compared to the Premier League, because just knowing the nature of this league, I can imagine that so many managers would not use Tomori as a centre-back because they'd be scared about just how small the player is. And I feel like if Tomori was to achieve his potential, it's going to be playing in the centre-back position compared to playing as a fullback. Compared to guys like Castillo, Reece James, Ola Aina and Jay Da Silva, Tomori just isn't on their level as fullbacks. But as a central defender, this is how the guy's making his name. And for me, normally when a player doesn't possess, base attributes like, pace or height, they make up for it in other ways. And for me, this is why Tomori has fantastic anticipation of the ball and an amazing leap as well. I like those types of players a bit more because it tells me that the player is constantly using his brain wherever he is on the pitch. And that's one thing you want to see, and that's one thing that the top defenders possess. Of course, congrats to the player for winning the Player of the Year award. Hopefully he does secure a good move for next season. I don't think he's needed in our squad for next season personally, but he's a player that I would keep on the books and really let him grow and do his own thing. And hopefully next season's going to be a big year for Tomori. But anyway, you guys, I'm going to keep things moving. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe. I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lions TV. I'll see you guys later.